What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here. And tonight we're going to do something a little different. What I got for your face balls here is a knife that we're going to go ahead and do backwards. Because this thing was a bitch to get apart, I started filming it. You can see here how many alignment pins there are. And because the machining is quite tight on this guy, it was just a pain in the ass to get this thing pulled apart. But I really wanted to show off what was going on here, just because this is a weird and interesting little knife. So what we're looking at here is the Tucson TS 160, and this is a Wong design, and you're looking at M390 blade steel. And for dimensions, this is a pretty standard size knife. It's a 7-inch knife, 4-inch handle, 3-inch blade. It's actually just under 3 inches, going to make it legal in a lot of places. So it's actually the blade from the front end of the handle to the tip measures 2.975. So because this is a slip joint, yeah, certainly going to be legal in a lot of places. You can see here that this is a full flat ground blade. Blade stock thickness is 135 thousandths, but it is really well ground. You're looking at secondary bevel there about 15 degrees per side, and you got a really nice sharpening choil, really nice symmetrical plunge grind, and then a nice, nail nick, I guess you would call that, or milled out area on both sides to grab it. This guy is 12 thousandths behind the edge all the way across, which is really, really nicely done. So makes this thing, yeah, just a pretty good slicer. And yeah, that's about, as far as blade shape goes, it's kind of a standard blade shape. You do have a little bit of belly there, but so it's not quite a Wharncliffe, but pretty close. So this is a slip joint with a pocket clip. It is right side tip up carry only. You can see here there is kind of an oval shape with some flats on it milled onto the pocket clip, and that's milled into the back side of this scale here. And then you can see that we have just a round hole on the other side. So it's only one position, and during this video here we will be reassembling this knife. So I did this just for the interest of time, so I didn't have a freaking hour-long video. But you can see there the pocket clip fits into that milled area. You do have some nice ramp on the pocket clip. It does have nice retention, does pocket really well. So yeah, just a really interesting knife. This is definitely a strange knife. I'm sure everyone's asking what the hell this thing is. So this will make a little more sense once we start putting it together. But definitely an interesting piece. So you can see here, here's the tension bar for the slip joint. And it's riding on phosphor bronze washers. And you've got some other pieces, parts here. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. So, of course, this is titanium scales, M390 blade. So definitely, this knife is made with premium materials. And I am going to use a little bit of lube as we start going back together here. And I just want to put a little bit right along the side there, just because there is a point there where this rubs. So as we start going back together here, this will be kind of interesting. Definitely a knife that I thought was pretty strange, something different, which, different's kind of cool. So we'll throw a little bit of lube down here on this washer here. There we go. And then I'm going to put a little bit of lube here on the on that joint right there, so that you can see this blade does have pretty pretty serious walk and talk, as they would say. So we're going to drop that guy right there. All right. And then we'll go ahead and put this back spacer tube in here. That's what's going to provide just a little bit of tension there when the blade's in the open position. And doesn't have a ton of tension on it. By the way, all the hardware on this guy is T8. I'm just going to spin that guy in there. And make sure that our pivot is all the way in. Perfect. This back one keeps falling out here. So this thing was a real pain in the ass to get apart. And you'll see why here in a minute. Yeah, there's just so many pins in this thing that I really had to use some little pry tools to get this guy apart. So this piece right here is the part that makes this thing very interesting. Actually, I think I'll throw a little bit of lube right there as well. And this is definitely unlike any knife I have ever seen before. I know there are some things out there like this that I have seen. I just haven't seen one quite exactly like this one before. But it's definitely an interesting knife. So, you know, it's well built. As you can see, there's phosphor bronze washers even on that little guy up there. So, let's throw a little lube here on this side of the blade. Okay. All right. So we're getting pretty close here. So, the interesting thing about this knife is you've got this little piece sticking up on the back, and once we get this guy put together, if I can get my fat fingers to work, there we go. Once we get this guy put together, you'll see what that thing does, but as you can see here, so now we've got pretty much everything assembled on that side. So as you push down on this, of course, it's going to put pressure down on that lock bar or the tension bar. And you can push it all the way to where that flat is flat along this back piece here, effectively locking the slip joint knife. Now, it definitely, it doesn't lock it completely because of this cut here. It still has some flex there, which is kind of an interesting setup. It's just, like I said, it's just unlike anything I have ever seen before. And because it's a slip joint, you know, it's kind of a pain in the ass to deal with and put together. Get this, there we go. All right, now the pivot screw does have a little bit different head on it. So the pivot screw is a special screw. The other two body screws are the same, but they are, all of them are T8 Torx hardware. So that's really great. Pretty simple in that way, which all the Tucson knives that I've handled, as far as hardware is concerned, have been really nice. You know, really nice machined hardware. So that's always a nice deal. And this is no exception. So once we get this guy screwed together here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we're just about there. Tighten these screws up. Perfect. Let's see if we got any blade play. Nope. All right. So here is your assembled TS 160. So you can see this little lever here flops back and forth. And, you know, it's just really interesting the way this thing is put together. So in the closed position, you know, this thing pockets extremely well. You're looking at just under half an inch thick. It's 0.47. And it is not contoured. However, you do have these finger choil areas here that are just really nicely chamfered and machined, and you've got this recessed pocket area all the way around. It's just kind of an interesting look. And then of course you got the half stop there, and then the rest of the way open. So what makes this guy really interesting is this setup right here. So because, you know, when the blade is in the half stop position, you can see that back spring there is lifted up. And then of course, when you go to close the knife, it's now flush. So that's what's providing the tension to create the slip joint portion. And then you have this machined out area right here. So when you push this down, if you push it all the way down like that, you are effectively locking that back spring. Now it doesn't lock it completely. I mean, you know, I feel like I could potentially force it, but you might end up breaking something back here, but it certainly makes it much, much stiffer. You can see that that'll still lift up a little bit right there. You know, I certainly, like I said, I think I could force it. But what's really interesting here is if you have it in just this position here, holding on to this knife, this gives you just a really nice, you know, you can see you've got some jimping on the top here. It gives you a really nice area, and it's honestly, it's pretty comfortable. You do have this little kind of finger choil area here. So if you choke up and really kind of put your thumb forward, so you're kind of on the blade, you know, your thumb is pushing down on this, providing a little bit of back pressure. But for draw cuts and things like that, man, it just feels like you got an amazing grip on this knife. So definitely an interesting piece. Never quite seen anything like it before. Like I said, you know, it does pocket well, a little under half inch thick. And in the closed position, you're only looking at 4 inches long. I didn't measure it. I got to zero that, but I didn't measure it in this dimension here. So let's see what we got here. So you're looking at about 1.25 inches, including that little toggle thing. That's including the blade and the little, you know, at its absolute widest point. But in this dimension here in the closed position, just under 1 inch. So yeah, you know, it's pretty compact. You know, like I said, you know, 7-inch knife, pretty standard dimensions in that way. Does go in and out of the pocket really well because of that oval shape. You know, the pocket clip doesn't move around. Does have good retention, and yeah, the ramp on the pocket clip works well. And then of course, you know, it is a two-handed knife. The walk and talk is really functional. But this is just a really, really strange situation. But like I said, more comfortable than it looks for sure. And this whole affair doesn't really seem to bother me at all in the pocket. You don't even really notice it. So although it is definitely kind of strange, and it certainly looks strange, it is, you know, if you are a person that does a lot of draw cuts or pull cuts, man, it's really comfortable in that way. So yeah, it just fits the hand really well for a small, 7-inch, you know, higher end materials. And of course, you know, blade centering's right on, all that kind of stuff, you know. And Tucson always has really good fit and finish. The quality's always really excellent. There's no blade play or anything like that. And yeah, just a nice looking, albeit strange, but well done. Really nice satin grind on the blade, a nice kind of tumbled finish on the titanium. And then, like I said, when you push that down like that, it is tight. So, it's not going to just pop up on you. So you do actually have to get your finger under there and pull it back up in order to close the knife. But yeah, I just thought it was something different, something really interesting. And yeah, thought I'd bring it and check it out and see what you guys think of it. So this is the Tucson TS160, and it's definitely a strange guy. So, all right, well, that's all I got for your face balls tonight, guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.